Hey guys, I hope you're good today. So today we're going to be having a look at the French index. So let's get straight into it. So as you can see, guys, I have the monthly chart open of the French index, and just based on what appears in front of me, I can see that we had a W formation in this region with a neckline being over there. However, we never really got to see price come back to the neckline to retest it. And if price had done so, we would have looked for further, or rather for a buying opportunity, right? So what I'm gonna do is add a neckline to this W structure, and that is because, as I said, the anticipation is that price needs to, I think, at some stage come back to this level to retest that W structure, or rather retest the neckline of that W structure. So just bear with me while I add that neckline. There we go. There goes our neckline. Excuse me. Let's see. So over and above us having this W structure, what else do we see on this chart that is particularly interesting? One thing, or rather another thing that is interesting, is the fact that we have a head and shoulders pattern in this region, with this side being the left hand shoulder, this being the head, and this side being the right hand shoulder. And we have the neckline somewhere in this region over here. Similarly, we also have not yet seen price retrace to the neckline to retest it and then push further down, and that is what I would like to see happen personally, because should that happen, we would then look for further selling opportunities at this point over here, right? So what I'm going to do is just add a neckline to that head and shoulders pattern. Let's see. There we go. So there goes our neckline. And just to reiterate and emphasize, necklines are not an actual line, they are rather an area, almost like the structure that I've just put in place. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? Another thing that is also very interesting, or very important rather, is the fact that we have actually this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, and it's carrying a whole lot of liquidity at this level over here where it ends. So that tells us that within the next, or rather even in this month, yeah, between this month and the next coming months, we will see price push to this level to grab some liquidity. From that point, it may possibly push up to the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern, and then from here possibly push further down, maybe to here, right? I hope what I'm saying makes sense, but nonetheless, let's continue. So what I'm going to do now is actually just mark that candlestick that's carrying a whole lot of liquidity, because as I said, guys, the market needs to come to this level to grab some liquidity at one point or another, right? Anyway, let's proceed. um so what else do we see on this monthly chart that we should be paying attention to? So before we proceed to the weekly chart, I'm just going to use the Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern actually aligns with any of the key levels that we have on the Fibonacci retracement tool. So just bear with me, guys. Let's see Fibonacci. There we go. So there goes the Fibonacci tool, and we can see that actually the neckline of this head and shoulders pattern actually aligns with the 50% Fibonacci retracement zone. So that is confirmation in that, as I said, guys, should price come back to that level to retest it, we would look for further selling opportunities, and that is because we have the head and shoulder structure, we have the neckline of that head and shoulder structure, and we also have the Fibonacci level of 50% being in alignment with the neckline, right? So I'm not saying that we're just going to sell just because price got to this point, right? We will look for other reasons why we should be looking for selling opportunities at that level. Anyway, let's proceed. I'm just going to delete this fib and head down to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. Let's have a look. So what do we see on this chart? Let's see. What do we see on this chart, which is the weekly chart? So the first thing that I see on this chart is the fact that we have at this point a liquidity candlestick. So that tells us that in the future, price has to get to this level to grab some liquidity, right? Another thing that I see that is also very much interesting is the fact that we have a gap over here. And gaps are very much similar to liquidity candlesticks in that they too carry a whole lot of liquidity that needs to be triggered by the market. And that is because liquidity represents money, right? So in the future, we will see price head back to this level over here to close that gap, because there's a lot of money actually sitting at that level, right? Similarly, we also have this gap over here. So what this tells us also is that there's a whole lot of money sitting there, and that the market at some point needs to come to this point to actually fill that gap. And can you guys see that this let me just bear with me. Can you see that this gap is actually in alignment with this neckline of that overextended W structure that I spoke about on the monthly chart? So this would also be confluence, I think, in as far as price coming down to this level to not only test the neckline of that W, but also to grab that liquidity that's sitting there, right? So that tells us that yes, indeed, the market at some point needs to come down to that level, right? Anyway, let us proceed. So what else do we see? What else do we see on this weekly chart that we should be paying very close attention to? So on the daily chart, I spoke about how we have a head and shoulders pattern in this region, right? As much as we have that pattern, we also have in this region an M formation, right? And it's got a neckline there, and the neckline is very much in alignment with the gap that I spoke about, you know. So should price head back to this level, we will be looking for possible selling opportunities as well, right? We will be looking for possible selling opportunities. And what may actually happen is price may not necessarily bounce off here. It may actually bounce off maybe somewhere here at that level to kill two birds with one stone, as it were. Because one, it would be collecting the liquidity that's on that gap, as well as testing the neckline of that structure that I spoke about, this head and shoulder structure that I spoke about. And as I said, we would be looking for possible selling opportunities from this point, right? Anyway, let's proceed. What I'm going to do now is actually add a neckline to that M structure as well, because it's also very much important. So there we go. There we go. So from here, what I'm going to do is head down to the daily chart. Okay, I hope my lines are not too confusing. The reason why I'm adding all of these lines is so that we don't forget what's happening on the bigger time frames as we move down to the smaller time frames. Anyway, let's proceed. The first thing that I'm going to do on this particular chart is actually add my daily channel. So just bear with me. There we go. There goes our channel. We just need to, as I always say, make sure that our channels, or rather all the drawings that we add to our chart, are as accurate as can be. So there goes our channel, right? So that's fine. So let's proceed. So what else do we see on this daily chart of the French index. What else do we see that is important? Let's see. So I can see that we had a whole lot of M structures. For example, we had an M structure here with a neckline there. Price broke the neckline, went back to the neckline to retest it, and we saw price or the market push further down. So we would have looked for further selling opportunities there. I see a small head and shoulders pattern here with a neckline there. Price broke the neckline here, then went back to the neckline to retest it, and then push further down. So we would have looked for further selling opportunities there. I also see another M structure over here. It's a very small M structure with a neckline there. However, we are yet to see price come back to the neckline of that M structure to test it, right? Another thing that is also very important, or that's happening right now, is the fact that we actually have or rather an inverted head and shoulders pattern in this region that is developing, with this being the left hand shoulder, this being the head, and this being the right hand shoulder, and the neckline is here somewhere in this region over here, right? So I'm just going to add that neckline as well. I hope this is not confusing, but yeah, I'm just going to add a neckline. Let's see. So I'll make it a smaller one. Let's say it's somewhere here. There goes our neckline. Let's see. Right. Yeah, there goes our neckline. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting that we should be paying attention to? We also have this candlestick over here. It's a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that at some point price has to get to that level to grab that liquidity, because there's a whole lot of money sitting at that level, right? Let's see. So as I said, guys, we have, just to recap, an M structure here, right? We also have another small M here, right? And we also have this structure here, which is an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So it would be risky, in my opinion, to be buying or selling at this point in time, and that is because we have, as I said, an M structure and an inverted head and shoulders pattern, and they both have necklines in more or less the same area. They both have necklines in more or less the same area. The neckline of this M structure is there. The neckline of this inverted head and shoulder structure is also here. So I would not look for any buying or selling opportunities now that we are on the smaller time frame, which is the daily chart. At this point, I would not look for one at that point because it's too risky and it makes things a 50-50 proposition. And me personally, I'm not in the game of 50-50 propositions. Yeah, so that's just my opinion, but nonetheless, I think the only way it would work, or the only way it would not be so risky, is if one were to execute on the smaller time frames, such as the 15-minute, the 30-minute, and the 5-minute chart, I think. Anyway, let's proceed. So from here, what I'm going to do is head down to the H4 chart. Okay, so here we are on the H4 chart. First thing that I'm going to do is just attempt to fix my my channel. Just bear with me. Let's see. Okay, there goes my channel. Okay, that's fine. That should be fine. Okay, that should be fine. The next thing that I'm going to do on the H4 chart is actually attempt to add my H4 channel as well. However, before I do so, let me just point out that as much as I said on the daily chart that we have a, just bear with me, we have a, let's see, we have this pattern over here. As much as I said that on the daily chart, just bear in mind that we also seem to have price actually moving in a sideways manner in this region, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So I'm gonna add my channel here. Let's see, how would I add my channel on this actual chart? Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Just bear with me, guys. Okay, here we go. I would actually do this. There we go. There we go. And I would do something similar to the bottom part. Because we have a triangle. There we go. There we go. Right. So it looks like we're gonna have a breakout very soon, because we can see that actually this triangle is about to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and sooner or later we're gonna see a breakout either to this side or to the side, right? Nonetheless, as I said, guys, personally at this point in time, I would not be looking for any buying or selling opportunities, and that is because, as I said, just to recap a bit, we have just bear with me, we have this M structure with a neckline there, and we have this inverted head and shoulders pattern with a neckline here, right? So this point over here is actually very risky in as far as looking for any buying or selling opportunities. So what I would do for now is just wait, right? I would wait. But just also bear in mind that we have a liquidity candlestick at the bottom, which I spoke about on the bigger time frames, and ideally I would love to see price push further down to that liquidity candlestick. Anyway, that's my analysis for now. I will do an update of this video at some point. I think once price has actually moved out of this whole area that I'm not liking, and yeah, we'll take it from there. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and peace out.